All right, Bevan Bird here. Let's enter into a state of wonder. Let's check out some art that I've already created. We're going to return to things I did in the past. We can bring up a random image. Well, that's not really an image that we want there. That thus exemplify that it can be random. There's a gnome sleeping in a hammock there under the branches of a tree on a potentially a flying island. Maybe it's not flying, right? Maybe it's the edge of a cliff. But I believe it was a flying island at the time, maybe when it was created. It's actually a clip from one. And I think it was made with Gemini, maybe. Now, anyway, we can bring up a random image like that. We can bring up a random day that I created something in the past where I created images like this one. There's a couple of clips here from two different images. Like these clips, in other words, like usually a rectangular thing I cut out. They're from two different images where we have a pyramid and a jungle and maybe some waterfalls like we do there, which reminds me of something I made on the first day that I played with Midjourney, but that's another story. Okay, so we can bring up random image, random day that I created that had images, or we could bring up a day that I created something. We don't know what though, and it might not have images if I put in that command. But we happen to find one that does have images. So we can look through these if you want. This white-haired lady character, there's an evolutionary story with her too. That's not organized, so I'm not going to show you it all in sequence. But we've just sparked it, right? We've just remembered that that's something we could do. So this was some of this work with architecture. And you can see the date here. These are things I didn't necessarily create them that day, September 14th, 2025. Um, but I saved them. And I think I actually made this quite a bit earlier, but and some of it may have made this day or sometime around then, but I know that in that uh, Evolutions of Art, Architecture, and Society art show from April 2025, right, 5 months before this, I did make some things here where I used a sketch and then created this thing. So my rough sketch evolved into this or that, which then evolved into things that were more smooth, right? If you want to see that, we can go back to it. That's if we can find it, but we can also trace back from any of these images very easily and do that. Well, kind of easily, right? Okay, not super easily, but oh, and I've forgotten to take out the path here. Okay, so just putting in the job and the index. So we get to that image, right? You'll be able to trace it back only if you've already loaded the things, but they're futuristic houses with glass domes, right? So I can do that. Now, if the saved searches work, we'll be able to do it and we'll be able to trace it back. And we can see that image right there too, right? Which will be quite easy to find. Okay, so that is the thing that there it says sketch architecture one. I can see that down at the very bottom. Uh, I wonder if we just do this. Okay, but that brought up a file. Yeah, because it's searching in the text. We'd actually just want to search for an image that has that name in it. So kind of like um, yeah, like that. Okay, now this is going to find any image file with the name sketch in it, with the word sketch. See, they're all there. And then that relates us to other things, right? And now we see the date. See, 424. So there's two sketches that day. But then you see other things too, which we could obviously check out. Okay, so that's kind of cool. Uh, Now we don't want to throw that away because we might want to look through those. Ah, yes, right. I actually filmed the drawing of this when I did this with a stick as inspired. I'd already done a couple of creature sketches back on July 7th, 2023. And this is like a snail man or something, or slug man or something like that. And he gets a spear over here later. So the other ones I already sketched and I took a picture of them. This one I did it live, holding the camera phone with one hand and sketching with the other with the stick. It's not as easy to do, right? But it worked. Okay. But that doesn't matter. Okay. It's not what we're getting into right now. Okay. Let's just go back. We're not looking at today. We're looking way back there. Well, 424, obviously. Yeah. I think my mouse is screwed up. So we're just going to click here. It doesn't say 4 though. Oh yeah, it's a different year. That's completely understandable. Okay, so then you kind of see the story a little bit and you can see the sketches that I put in. So two silly kind of sketches. I thought there was another thing. I mean, well, that is the one there that one was based on. So now you know that you can see, but this is a variation. So it's not what, directly resulted from it. Okay. Let's try the thing with the glass domes, futuristic house glass domes. Maybe I'll put both. There may already be a saved search of it, which we'll find out in a moment. Excuse me. Okay, I'll just simply add a new one. There probably is one already. It doesn't matter though. We're gonna just put that there just so that like the web thing can be working in the background and that will help. And then you'll get to see something interesting after. That's if this works, right? Lately it hasn't been working. I'm still going to give it a chance to. See if I click on that, that should literally be working, right? We should be on that search now, but nothing's really happening unless I had to trigger it to use it. See, because we did switch to that saved search, but I hadn't really clicked on anything. But like here I have, maybe that's all I needed to do, which explains why it didn't work earlier. See, now it's only square ones that are in that save search. Here's like apparently landscape ones, if they really are. Oh, it's working, right? There you go. Okay, that's great. Okay, so once you get the save search to work, no, that wasn't hard because we just needed to do some other filter or click up here, type something or whatever. I just did it with click, either one. We saw that that worked. Okay, so then you scroll back because you got to load them, right? They got to get into cache. See how it's going and getting more. So you basically have to do that if you want to trace it back. Okay, so now we've started that process, so that's good. Okay, so now going back here, that's my sketch. Now I do have two of them, right? And so yeah, we got some pretty cool stuff from this later, right? But that's how simple that one started. And we can trace that idea back too. If you go back to making the art, architecture, and society art show, you can see how these things that I created, right, was based on a little sketch. Not exactly that, something simpler. It came from a clip, which came from. Now, if we told the computer to bring up a random clip, it's very unlikely it's going to bring up that specific clip, right? Because there's a whole bunch of clips. But it does come from a specific clip, and it's not in this folder. It's something that was made before, right? And it was from an alien world uh, view. So to find that, we might see it in the actually it's in the presentation. So I'll just bring it up. Okay, so we can do this. Um, Here we go. Well, that isn't exactly what I'm talking about. It's just another example. It's how we got a dragon house. But here, with this alien world, this tiny little thing in here, right? There's so much more potential here, right? But like what you see in this goggle or whatever. But anyway, that little thing right there. Okay. I used that as an input image prompt, that clip, and then we started creating things from it. So you can see how amazing that is, right? And so a tip is take out the image prompt once you get it started, right? Start the process, but then do a remix so you can edit the prompt, right? And remove the image prompt so that you can get higher and higher quality stuff that's not constrained by that initial clip. Okay, so using the same idea again, right? Having a little clip or some kind of sketch or whatever. Here I did a variation of that idea, right? So I sketched that as the shape of the house on an island. And here's another one. Okay, and if we look at what I created that day or what I saved, right? They're curations. They're things that I happened to save that I liked, starting from what you just saw, those little sketches. So it was a successful experiment, as you can see. And each authentic expression is a seed of infinite creation, right? So anything, any of these creations and any part of them, if you want, right, could be the seed for infinite creation, for more things. It can be a seed or a spark to create something else new. Like I could show you something that goes kind of deep, for example, in that same show, that evolutions of art, architecture, and society. And that's exactly what I'm going to do right after this. Yeah, so this thing is based on the sketch, right? And so it's in between and it kind of looks a bit like a painting as well. It would have been one of the earlier ones before it had time to gravitate away from those sketches more in the style evolving. So here we have these things that we were loading, right? You can go back and load more if you want. Not going to waste a lot of time with that. You can just do this and then you'll see some of these things. This is literally what I was just talking about, right? Like here they are, right? So you're seeing the exact same ones that I saved back then. There, April 24th, 2025. It shows that exactly, and that's exactly what we're talking about. Now, if we um, trace something back, you'll see that. Then watch it in forward chronological order. And while we're loading that, we will load that show. The thing is that we have to find one of these things and then trace it back if that's what we're going to do, right? Or are we going to do that from the ones in the random day that came up here? That's where we started seeing this. That's where we got the spark, right? Where we're like, ah, yeah, right. So this is one of the early ones. It's probably not super polished and a later one. Other ones may have been based on it, and eventually this, which came a lot later, right? If we want to see how I made it, we can trace that back potentially. So we'll have to um, do a thing to go to navigate to that one. Now it's not even letting me click there. Okay, so I'll just pause this recording and I'll load up the other art show as well so I can show you that deep thing that I was talking about as well. So you'll see each of these things if there's time. Okay, so here we are, right? I've navigated to that image from this one. Okay, so that's just an imagine. We can't trace it back. It's directly from this, right? These are the siblings. They're the other ones, right? There's some chaos, variation. So it arose by putting this prompt in, and that was the style reference, which was created earlier. And then if you look back at how that one was made, you could trace that. We're not going to do that right now. That would be the same process, which I'm not showing because there's nothing to trace back from this aside from what I just showed you. Okay, but we could do it with another one, and we could easily do that with this white-haired woman, right? Because there's a whole sequence there, and I was actually working on this in the past. And so if we just pick one, we can start tracing that back too, and that might work. But first of all, we will look at this thing. Okay, so get rid of that. And then let's just take a look here. Oh yeah, right. So the deep thing, right? Okay, I'll just pause it while I find the spot, while I queue it up, and then show you. And while I'm looking through, by the way, this has, I guess, 1400 slides or so, or maybe it's 1300 and something. But anyway, it's got quite a few. It also includes the three gardens, which I have later turned into a little video art show, like a little animation. And since I have that technology, right, since I've created it, we can use it again and again. So we're going to leverage it more. That was just the first time that I used it, was in showing the three gardens. Now we've actually found the thing. Now we're right in the middle of it, right? So you're not really seeing the start. So I'll just, yeah, there's a bit of the three gardens thing. But yeah, here we go. Okay, let's do this. Let's see if this works like this here. Good. We're still in business with this PowerPoint, which is all good. We're going to be using the other software, and we don't need the PowerPoint. But for now, I'm just showing you this because there's a reason for it. Because we're going to go deep into something. So we get some slight changes. And then I clipped the thing. So we went into that window, but we also uh, evolved it into another piece of art. So it's based on the window in the previous one. And then we look closer into that window. And then we go through the room. And now you can see there's pillows on the other side of the room. And there we are, right? And so we're traveling through these portals and actually into the future at the same time in this case. We go out through that window and into that world that we see there. So we just went through that building, right? Traveling through time at the same time, and the art style can also change at the same time. And we're now exploring that world that we got into as we went through the portal by going through one window and through the other. Oh, yes, right. It just moved a little bit faster there. But anyway, there's some water you notice down there. There's some a waterway or pool or something, and there happens to be a dolphin in it. And then another view of the dolphin. It skipped this one, but I'm learning. Okay, it's a new laptop, relatively. So the dolphin goes. Now the dolphin is painted by Matisse, and then um, he's a happy dolphin, he or she. And yeah, and this is a cute dolphin. And then it's painted by Kandinsky. Kandinsky, it said there. So that happens, and it got progressively more abstract, but you can still see some tails in there, like whale tails or whatever, dolphin, and like look at these fins and stuff. So it's still a painting of a dolphin, it's just more abstract, and it evolves, and there's like a dolphin in there, and so on. And then we do another process, and it's doing some uh, subtle variations, right? It's gradually evolving. And so we're keeping it in Kandinsky's style, but we're making it about a city instead of about a dolphin, right? So that's why it's like evolving like that. And then I changed the style yet again, but not with a subtle variation. It had to take a larger step, right? A strong variation. Now it's by Hieronymus Bosch, or it pretends to be. So here we have this futuristic city or futuristic alien city. And then it doesn't matter whether it's futuristic or not because you don't know where it is and what time, and it doesn't matter. And then we have this, which we can kind of remember. It reminds us of that other thing, but then you got these lights in there. It's like these things are huge, and it's almost like there's cities inside them. And it's a little bit like Star Wars as well. And there's this river that runs over through here. So it's pretty cool. It's beautiful. And it has, influences from multiple things, including Agua Azul, a place I went to when I was very young and where I first ran waterfalls, but not ones this large, more like a foot or two when I just started when I was 5 years old. And I was like scared when I did it. And I would like, I don't know, maybe even shriek, right? And then, but with glee or terror, who knows? And afterwards, I'm like, I'm going, let's go again, right? Just we got to do this again. So I kept doing that. So yeah, this is partially inspired by Agua Azul as well as those futuristic cities and things and science fiction. Then we start to zoom into one of those. things, like maybe this area here or something. So we zoom into it and add more detail, and we start to get these dragon or reptile sculptures or something, right? So we see that, and then this one's more comical and seems to be a bit more in the past with these castles and things, but it's kind of funny. Anyway, we go with that. This got a bit of a Chinese style to the dragon, or maybe Japanese. I'm not sure. We got another dragon there. It's kind of big, right, compared to the people. Well, they always were in these, but and also ignore this part. It's probably this thing could be edited. We can improve it, right? This right here. But then it continues to evolve. Okay, and maybe something catches fire. Oh yeah, right. So now I'm zooming in and showing how huge these freaking sculptures of the dragons become in the future after that, where you can see the feet and the claws on these toes and look at the people, and they're doing some kind of celebration. It's a big feast day, but this is like incredible. It's getting ridiculous, right? So we evolve that. All right. Whoops. Okay, so that went pretty deep, right? Just starting from architecture, a building, looking through a window and the pillows and out the other side and so on. So look at that, right? It's ridiculous. This is just it's nuts. It's become a whole other like religion and things and weird power dynamic with these massive creatures. It's so big, like we're only seeing the toes of some massive, huge monument there. And now there's also like a man-shaped thing here, or woman, like a human-shaped sculpture here too. But look at the size, right? Think of what that implies, the symbology of it, like what it represents, the size of the human shaped figure that does have a crown, which is a technology of alignment, by the way. Yeah, it has that, but look at the size of the human relative to the reptile creature, right? Another one, this might be a feather or something. I'm not exactly sure. Over here, right? And it's like, whoa, right? Just look at how big these are and the people, right? And so it's always with this celebratory mood because the prompt that I was using, I was saying like, there was this celebration and it's at the feet of the statue. You can see mountains in the distance. Beautiful. Okay. And there's no point in tracing this back because we got to use a different save search then, which means we got to load the thing again and all that. So we're not going to waste time with it. We could do that another time though. I'm saying that because I'm about to do an interview and I'm going to leave a little time gap in between before it as well. So I'm not going to go into a whole bunch of that, but maybe we can do this one because it's architecture and this one should show up because we said like futuristic house domes, whatever, right? In the prompt, the thing that we put in with our save search that we're using to filter, basically to filter. So I'm just visiting that one. See, this is our saved search, right? And we've scrolled right back. It can't go any farther. As it says here, you've reached the end. So here we are, and it's a variation. But see, you can't trace back, right? So now we can just go make a subtle variation of that. Now that's going to show up right at the very top of this, or you can go over here. See, it's different tabs. I used this to go to that one in order to make a link back to it. So that's why I visited here and hit variation subtle, like whatever you want to do. I just did that. Okay, because if you look here, it's there. So this is going, the new job, but we don't even have to wait for it to create because all we got to do is click that link right there, variation, because I use subtle variation. So that's what the link would say, whatever it would say, whatever the thing is. So you just click that. Now we're on that one, but notice we're in this tab. We had to go to this tab where we had the organize, where we did the save search, and we loaded them back. You have to do that first. So now that means we can trace this back. But then it wasn't very amazing because it only went back one step, which is to an imagine, which has no parents. So it had a style reference, which is both of these images, the dark one being the Dragon House at night, maybe in a style by Gary Larson, and this other one, which was a light colored one, like a white house with these colored glass domes. So we had both of those as style references, and this prompt, we're making this thing, trying to make it like Gary Larson. That's what that is. And I happened to make a variation of it. So when I did that, I got this, and it's bursting with playfulness. And these here's index 0, here's index 1, here's index 2, here's index 3, which is that one. So by looking at those, we can see that it was not a subtle variation, because then if it was, they would all have a similar look, layout. So it was a strong variation because it shows here. It says variation, but doesn't tell you which type. Now we know it was a strong variation, and we're done. There it is. That's what it was made from. Whatever. Okay, so it didn't go very deep, right? Absolutely not. Um, let's see. Maybe we can do it with another one. This is something we are showing and with the sketch, right? This or the other one. Let's just look at that and see what happens. Just, I want to see something interesting, right? So notice I go to the other tab because I just want to visit this. I want to keep that. Now it might work if I do it here, but the thing is I want to keep that save search going there. So I'm not reloading anything on this one. I'm just, that's why I opened up a new tab to go to this here. Okay. So I just put in the job, uh, right. I just put in the job and the index because I had my file name, which is based on that. See, so we'll just click that. We'll go over here, go to create. See, we've started this job. We'll click that as a link to go back to it. And now we're on the same one. It's just that we're in this tab where we've got the organize with the things. Now the same thing happened, right? It was only one after it. But we can do something else where it took multiple steps. Okay. So that was the sketch they started with, and and I made it the image prompt. And I put this prompt in, right? I made that thing. But it also made these other ones. I just happened to choose that one. There's 0, 1, which is the one I used, 2, and 3. Okay, so that's the 4 possibilities. I used this one though, right? And we made a variation, like a subtle or a strong variation, and created that. And if you look through them, you can see them right here. So I think it was a subtle variation, maybe. It might have been a strong variation because look at all this, right? So it's probably a strong variation, not a subtle. And these two, this thing here and that are siblings, as you can see, which I saved in that folder. Those two there, they're siblings. They have the same job number, but different index. So that's it. So we'd really have to find another one to trace back. But as I said, I'm not going to do this other one, that one either, right? Or this lady with the white hair. I can still show you where this came from, right? I'll go back to the very beginning, but we're not going to trace it back because we got to use a different save search, and I'm not going to start that, so we'll leave it. If we're going to look at some other one, we'd have to just pick something and just hope in a way that it's going to go back multiple steps. Since we don't know, we're not going to bother. I've already tried twice, and it didn't work out that way, so we're not going to bother with it, right? But just going back here, I'm just going to show you where this started. So I'm going to open up that same art show and go to that spot, and you'll see that in a moment. Okay, so of course you remember that from this I made a clip in here, and that's where all this stuff evolved from. It started from that little clip. Well, as a recursion of the same idea, I saw someone in a window, right? Not this though, it's something like that. Okay, so somewhere here we're going to see it. And I basically expanded that idea. So we're getting close to it. We'll skip the robot part. There we go. See, so that one. Now this one itself could be traced back, right? We're not going to do that here. Obviously we could. We can, and if you trace them beforehand, then they're ready and you can just play them forward, right? And I made software to do that. So we'll be using that more in the future. We just have to make a note of the ones that we want to trace and show how we did them. then we'll just simply see how I made them. Here I made that clip of it. Now notice how tiny it is and how few pixels there are, how little the detail is, right? But that's where it started. It came from that, literally. Okay, so this is that character. That's where it started. I just had the idea of saying that she had white hair because of how this looked right here, this tiny little clip. Okay, so that's literally where it started. There's nothing else there. I just have that I made a clip from the roof of this, and that I evolved into these like gardens on a roof or patio or whatever, right? It's just another example. Okay, so that does show you exactly where this came from. That's literally where it came from, but then there's other steps in between. So months later, I did something with like some kind of like a fitness instructor idea, and then we then combined her with like some pyramids, right? And that's how you got this. Okay, so that's pretty cool because you could see how it started with very, very little detail, and now you can see the same character throughout time, like in different places, evolving, and the world's developing, worlds that you want to return to. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon. And in another session, we'll do some playful creation. This was just showing some fun art on the fly. This came from, this is an evolution of what I made at the beginning when I started a art collection, which is also an NFT collection, called Just for Fun. Like the energy of doing things just for fun. And so this is actually an evolution of the very first piece of that. The thing that it was started by, which is someone dancing on the beach at sunset. Now, this is not the exact same thing. I'm just saying that it evolved from that. So there's a little like story for you. Okay, see you again soon.